video, we are going to discuss on the PMP exam content outline. PMI has defined certain tasks or certain focus areas based on which the PMP exam questions revolves around. And PMI has divided their entire content into three domains: people, process, and business environment. And again, the PMP exams revolves around these three domains. People, again, how you're going to manage your stakeholders; process, how you're going to manage the steps involved in the project management; and business environment, the factors within your organization and outside the organization, how those factors are going to impact your project and how your project is going to impact these factors, and how you are going to consider these factors when you're going to manage your project. In our previous video, we have already discussed about people domain, the ECO for people domain. So you can check out our previous video for that. And in our today's video, we are going to discuss on process. So let us get into the details now. Right. So in process, there are 17 tasks. So what is that? Let us go one by one. So the first task or the first focus area is execute project with the urgency required to deliver business value. So there are three things under that. Assess opportunities to deliver value incrementally, examine the business value throughout the project, support the team to subdivide project tasks as necessary to find minimum viable product. See, everywhere, whether it is predictive method or it's an agile method, the ultimate objective of the project is to deliver value, right? Deliver value. So when I say deliver value, are we going to focus on the output or the outcome? Output is the product you build, and outcome is the benefit this product is going to deliver. Which one you are going to focus? Naturally, the outcome, right? And likewise, you need to see what is the value this project is going to provide. So you need to focus on that. What is the value what is the most valuable features is going to be prioritized. If we move into agile, we are going to build the product in incremental basis and in iterative basis, right? So in that case, we are going to focus on minimal viable product, which is the basic features which is required for the functioning of the product. We focus on that. For that, we have to divide every features and then focus on the minimal viable product. So the focus has to be on the value the project has going to deliver. So when you are going to manage your project, you need to focus on the value, not being rigid to manage the project, but being more fluid to ensure the business value is being achieved, right? And the next task, manage communications. Analyze communications needs of all stakeholders. Determine communication methods, channels, frequency, and level of details for all stakeholders. Communicate project information and updates effectively. Confirm communication is understood and feedback is received. So basically, they are talking about project communications. If you're going to look into the PMBOK 6, there is a separate knowledge area as communications management, and it is we need to focus on that knowledge area in an integrated way with the stakeholder management, as well as these two goes both goes hand in hand and complements each other. Because to whom are you going to communicate? The stakeholders. How are you going to engage with the stakeholders? By communication. So basically, you need to understand who are your stakeholders, what are their needs, and you need to analyze your stakeholders and categorize them. The same point we will see again in another task. So you need to categorize them. Before that, you need to analyze the stakeholders. What is their interest in the project? What is their influence in the project? What is that they seek out of this project? How are they going to contribute to the project? So you're going to understand or analyze all those things, and based on that is where you're going to come out with the communications plan, and you're going to analyze which methods of communication is going to support you in having an effective communication, and in turn to increase the support of the stakeholders. When we're talking about communication methods, it can be push, pull, or interaction. What is this? We will discuss in another video about it. So you need to define what exactly you need to communicate with the stakeholders. How are you going to communicate? In what frequency are you going to communicate? What mode or methods you're going to use? What is the technology you're going to use? So there should be an effective planning of the communications well at the start of the project. You're not going to do an ad hoc communications, right? Which is not going to be effective. So you're going to plan, and also when you're going to manage communications, when you're going to communicate with the stakeholders, you ensure the proper informations or effectively and timely communications is being done to the stakeholders. And also on a regular basis, you're going to check the effectiveness of the communications. So you may do a survey, you may monitor how things are doing, and the best is getting feedback from the stakeholders. Is the informations about the project is being received on a timely basis? Is it effective? So feedback is one of the best method to understand whether the communications is effective. And likewise, you're going to analyze your stakeholders as well. So communication is the lifeblood of the project, so that has to be effectively done. Moving to task 3, assess and manage risk. So they are talking about risk management. Determine risk management options, iteratively assess and prioritize risk. In PMBOK 6, it is beautifully defined the steps involved in risk management. So first you plan your risk management. So you come out with risk management plan. Then you identify the risk, through which you're going to come out with risk register and risk report, where you're going to identify all the risk irrespective of the priority or the magnitude of the risk. And then we have the perform qualitative risk analysis, perform quantitative risk analysis. Through these two steps, you are going to prioritize the risk and then plan risk response. So you're going to plan what actions are you going to take to manage each and every risk. And then you're going to implement the risk response during the execution. It doesn't stop there. You're also going to monitor risk to check, is there any new risk coming up in the project? Is the priority of the already identified risk are effective? Are the action plans which you have planned for those risks are still effective? So on a regular basis, you are going to assess and manage your risk, through which there is going to be a better and a effective management of the project. And moving to the next task, engage stakeholders. This again, you would reflect on what we discussed some time ago in the communications. Engage stakeholders, analyze stakeholders, categorize your stakeholders, engage your stakeholders by category, develop, execute, and validate a strategy for stakeholder engagement. See, stakeholders are a very important part of the project. They can make the project or break the project. So it's very important to identify the stakeholders, and you cannot have the same strategy applied to manage all the stakeholders. So you're going to analyze them, you're going to categorize them, and based on the category, you're going to have different strategy for different category of stakeholders. And then you're going to engage with them. And also on a regular basis, you're going to check, are the engagement with the stakeholders effective? Are the positive stakeholders are still providing the positive impact to the project? Are they supporting the project? And is the negative impact from the negative stakeholders is reducing? Is there agreement with the stakeholder, with the project objectives? Are they collaborative with the project, cooperative with the project? So all these things you're going to analyze to see whether there is effective engagement with the stakeholders. Task 5, plan and manage budget and resources. Estimate budgetary needs based on the scope of the project and lessons learned from the past projects. Anticipate future budget challenges. Monitor budget variations and work with governance processes to adjust as necessary. Plan and manage resources. So it is talking about managing, planning and managing of the budget resources. See, You need to, again, when I refer to the schedule manage or cost management and resource management, there are clearly steps defined in our PMBOK 6 which clearly says how you're going to manage the budget and the resources. So first you come out with a plan where you're going to define the unit of measure, the estimating techniques. All these things are defined and all these are based on the scope of the project. And you can also refer to the previous projects which gives you the guidance of how you're going to manage. And the risk register is also going to be considered because that is going to help you to come out with the reserves when you're going to manage or budget your cost, right? And when you're going to execute, you are also going to check is the expenses in line with the budget and also whether we are in line with the governance processes defined in the organization. And likewise, the resources. You're going to plan how you're going to manage your resources, be it your physical resources or your human resources, and you're going to estimate your resources, bring your resources into your project. When it comes to human resources, you are going to ensure there is rewards and recognitions, trainings. You're going to empower your team members and give them a safe environment, an empowering environment. So these are the different ways in which you're going to plan and manage your budget, your resources, and even your schedule. Schedule again as a next point. Task 6. Plan and manage schedule. What does it mention below the topic? Estimate project tasks. Utilize benchmarks and historical data. Prepare schedule based on methodology. Measure ongoing process based on methodology. Modify schedule as needed based on methodology. Coordinate with other processes and other operations. So basically, again, referring to PMBOK 6, it speaks about you come out with a plan, schedule management plan, and then you are going to define activities. You're going to refer to the WBS and then further decompose into activities, sequence the activities. That is where you're going to refer to your dependencies. There are various methodologies used to sequence your activities and then you come out with a network diagram. You're going to use various methodologies when you're going to do this, which is defined in your plan. Your plan should be a complete one, which is going to give answer to all the questions which has been raised during the project. And once you come out with the schedule, you are going to estimate and then come out with the schedule. And when the project is going on, you're also going to check, are we managing the project in line with the timelines? And if not, we are going to see where is the gap and then take action accordingly, right? So this is about plan and manage schedule. Moving to the next, task 7, plan and manage quality of products deliverables. Determine quality standards required for the project deliverables. Recommend options for improvement based on quality gaps. Continually survey project deliverables quality. So basically, quality is what? Conformance to the requirements. So what you define should be met. And when you're going to define your quality metrics and processes for your project, it should be in alignment with the standards at the organization level. It cannot conflict with whatever has been defined at the organization level. Quality is not only about identifying a defect, arresting a defect, or preventing a defect. It is also about continuous improvement. So you're going to plan your quality management and where you're going to come out with your quality management plan, quality metrics. Then you're going to manage your quality to check whether the processes are being followed properly, whether the process design, the product design is right. And you are also going to check whether the operational definitions are right. Basically, you're going to use audit as a technique to manage quality. And then you're going to control quality using inspection as a technique to check whether the product conforms to the requirement, whether there is any defects, any issues, any bugs. So that has to be rectified accordingly. So quality is again a continuous process which has to be followed throughout the project, and it should be in line with whatever has been defined at the organization level, right? Task 8, plan and manage scope. Determine and prioritize requirements, break down scope, monitor and validate scope. Basically, when it comes to scope, you need to understand scope is what you're going to build in the project. The scope can be product scope and project scope. Your scope management is all about ensuring that you're building things based on the scope which has been defined. Nothing more, nothing less. So what are the steps involved in scope management? Basically, you're going to come out with a plan by which you come out with scope management plan, requirements management plan. Then you collect the requirements from the various stakeholders, which includes internal stakeholder as well as external stakeholder, and it can be towards the product scope and the project scope. So you collect the requirements, you prioritize the requirements, and then you come out with the project scope statement. So project scope statement is going to be in a detailed way. The document may run for pages after pages. Hence, we need to break it down into smaller components to facilitate estimation and to delegate the work. That is where we break down into work breakdown structure. So when it comes to agile method, we speak about backlog, where we are going to come out with a backlog. If you remember in the previous step, we spoke about minimal viable product. So based on that, we are going to prioritize the products or the features, and we ensure that we build the products in short intervals. It can be called as sprint or iteration based on which agile methodology use. And you're also going to monitor, are we building things as per the plan? Validate scope is nothing but getting customer acceptance. In agile, when the entire project is going to be divided into short intervals of 2 to 4 weeks, which we can call it as sprint or iteration. So the monitoring and validate scope happens much more frequently in agile method within the sprint compared to the predictive method. And task 9, integrate project planning activities. Consolidate the project phase plans. Assess consolidated project plans for dependencies, gaps, and continued business value. Analyze the data collected. Collect and analyze data to make informed project decisions. Determine critical information requirements. So basically, throughout the project, you are also going to see how the project is progressing. So you are going to monitor and control when you're going to execute your project, you have your data as how much work is completed, how much money is spent, how many defects are there, and you are going to collect those data, compare with your plan and see what are the dependencies, what are the gaps in the project, and accordingly you're going to analyze and come out with, based on the critical information which is available, you come out with a better way or to fix the gap. So how you are going to monitor and control, in what frequency are you going to do, what methodology you're going to use. So all these also are planned well in advance in your planning of the project. Okay, so integrate project planning activities, and again all these are interdependent. You're not going to check only scope, you're not going to check the risk in a silo manner. So all these are going to be checked in a integrated way. When you plan itself, all these are going to be integrated. When you're going to monitor and control, again, it is going to be in an integrated way. So moving on to the next, task 10, manage project changes. Anticipate and embrace the need for change, follow change management practices, determine strategy to handle change, execute change management strategy according to the methodology, determine a change response to move the project forward. So basically, when it comes to predictive method, we are going to follow change management process religiously, where we are going to define the processes we are going to define the processes we are going to follow to manage the changes. So we can call the plan as change management plan, and also configuration management plan comes handy to track the changes. So we are going to define it and we are going to manage it. When you're going to execute, or even when you're going to monitor and control, you may identify a change and accordingly you follow the process and going to manage changes. So even though we talk about in predictive method that we are going to come out with a complete plan at the start of the project, still due to various internal and external factors, changes may happen. Then also, even in a predictive method, embracing change is important, but follow the change management process. Agile, we anticipate and embrace the change. So we know we are working in a dynamic environment, and accordingly we can accommodate the changes. How are we going to accommodate changes? We are going to build the product in short iteration, right? Through which we are going to anticipate and adapt to the changes which is required. And again, changes should add value to the customer. It should be for the competitive advantage for the customer, right? So this is about manage project changes. Moving to the task 11, plan and manage procurement. Define resources requirements and needs, communicate resource requirements, manage suppliers and contractors, plan and manage procurement strategy, develop a delivery solution. So basically, how are you going to plan and manage your procurement? So you're going to as a first step, you're going to check what resources are required. So through estimate activity resources, you come out with the resource requirements, and you're going to understand or analyze which resources are available within the organization. So those resources which is not available within the organization, then you're going to buy those from the market. So then you're also going to analyze, are we going to make this product or buy this product? So if you're going to make this component, it becomes a sub project. When you're going to buy, then it becomes your procurement. So again, you're going to go by a step-by-step methods. You're going to follow a step-by-step method to identify what exactly you want in your project. You come out with a procurement strategy, and then you define the acceptance criteria or evaluation criteria, and then you're going to assess, evaluate, and then bring the vendor into the project. And you're also going to check whether the vendors are supplying the materials as per the requirement, where you're going to use audit and inspection as the processes. And then once everything is done, you're going to make the payment and then close the procurement. So procurement is again a very interesting topic. So that is task 11. Task 12, manage project artifacts, which is documents. Determine the requirements, what, when, where, who, etc. for managing the project artifacts. Validate that the project information is kept up to date and accessible to all stakeholders. Continuously assess the effectiveness of the management of the project artifacts. So basically, they are talking about documents. You need to, it is not just about building the product, you need to also ensure that you have the relevant documents in place, tracking the project and giving the information to the stakeholders about the project. So these documents has to be clearly updated, up to date, and it should have easy access to the stakeholders so that the stakeholders can go through the documents and understand what is the current project status, and also ensure the document is up to date and only the correct version is accessible, right? And there should also be continuous checking of the effectiveness of the documentation. So if it is not going to serve the purpose of updating the stakeholders and to manage the project in a successful way, it doesn't help. And it is better not to create documents and reports just for the sake of documents and reports. And if to touch upon Agile, see, in Agile, we speak about where documents takes a backseat. which doesn't mean we are not going to do documents. We are not going to have documents. Only when it is required, to the extent it is required, is where we are going to manage the documents and the reports, right? And moving to the next, task 13, determine appropriate project methodology, methods, and practices. Assess project needs, complexity, and magnitude. Recommend project execution strategy. Recommend a project methodology approach. Use iterative, incremental practices throughout the project lifecycle. Again, there is a chapter in PMBOK 7 which clearly defines how you can customize your project. Okay, I would strongly recommend to read that. It says like what are those factors which is going to influence you in customizing your project or tailoring your project. You can tailor your project as mentioned here, the methodology. You may have a predictive method, agile method, hybrid method, and you can customize your process you follow and how you're going to manage your stakeholders, how you're going to manage your risk factors, all those things. There is not one single methodology which is applicable to all the projects. You need to analyze the project, and based on various factors, you can tailor the project. And in PMBOK 7, I would say this chapter is a must chapter for you to read, for you to score little more in your PMP exam. Task 14, establish project governance structures. Determine appropriate governance for a project. Define escalation path and threshold. So you need to understand what is the organization governance model, what is the structure of the organization, what is the culture of the organization. So these are going to impact the project and also influence the project. So your project, whenever you're going to initiate, plan, execute, monitor and control, whatever you do in your project, it should be in alignment with the project governance and at the organization level as well. Task 15, manage project issues. Recognize when a risk becomes an issue. Attack the issue with the optimum action to achieve project success. Collaborate with relevant stakeholders on the approach to resolve the issue. So what is risk and what is issue? Risk is something which you anticipate, a futuristic one, which can impact the project. Issue is something which has happened, which is current, which is impacting the project. So you need to understand the difference, and then you need to understand, is it going to happen in the future or is it happened? A risk can become an issue, right? So you need to have a concrete plan of how you are going to manage and ensure you are going to follow that. And also on a frequent basis, you are going to revisit on your strategy, your risk management strategies or risk plan, and then do the course correction in case it is not matching with the current current situation. Got it? So risk management is again a very important point. A risk becomes an issue, right? And again, it is when you're going to manage your issues, you being all alone taking care of everything by yourself, instead of that, involve your stakeholders. There can be better solutions from your stakeholders, be it your team members, your clients, your management, your PMO, anyone. We generally are reluctant to go and ask for ideas or support or help, but for the benefit of the project, we need to collaborate with the stakeholders to get better ideas, better solutions to resolve the issues for the success of the project. And moving to the final 2 points, task 16, ensure knowledge transfer for project continuity. Discuss project responsibilities within team, outline expectations for working environment, confirm approach for knowledge transfer. So basically, you need to clearly define the roles and responsibility of the team members and provide an environment where the team members can be more creative and innovative. If you're going to be a micromanaging person, not trusting your team members, it is going to be a difficult situation. On the other hand, be empowering, give a safe environment, an environment where you can trust your team members, listen to your team members, and use emotional intelligence. So when you do all these things, naturally your team members are going to be more responsible for the project. They're going to be self-driven team, and they will be willing to share their knowledge to the team and the organization, right? So you as a project manager, create a safe environment, an empowering environment to enable knowledge transfer. See, only when they trust you, they are going to be ready to share their knowledge. And this knowledge repository is going to help your project and also future projects, and also going to help the organization to elevate to the next level. The final task: plan and manage project phase closure or transition. Determine criteria to successfully close the project or phase. Validate readiness for transition. Conclude activities to close out project or phase. See, as important as it is to plan and to execute, it is also important to have an effective phase closure or project closure and transition. So you need to plan well in advance how you're going to manage your closure. So you can create a final report, and analyze all your documents which has been developed throughout the project, and ensure that whatever the project objectives has been defined at the start is being met. Create a final report to be submitted to the management. Retrospective: understand or analyze what went well, what did not go well, and those learnings can be captured and shared with the organization as well. So these are the 17 tasks. These are the 17 tasks related to process. So I hope I was able to give a very high overview of each of these processes. So you need to understand these, and I would recommend to read both PMBOK 6 and 7. And this exam is not going to be book based. So reading these concepts and understanding the concepts in a logical way, the interconnection between the processes, and again, Agile is a very important one. Please do read Agile. In PMBOK 6, if you're referring, there is a separate book which has been published for the Agile part. If you have PMBOK 6 and if you're going to read, refer from page number 794. Okay, all the very best.